According to the latest data released by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, a total of 905.2 billion naira has been spent by the corporation on petrol subsidy in 8 months amid the rise in global oil prices. And now the NNPC, which has been the sole importer of petrol in the country in recent years, has been bearing the subsidy cost since it resurfaced in January this year, as government left the pump price of fuel unchanged at 162 to 165 naira per litre, despite the increases in the global oil prices. With international oil benchmark nearing $80, already hitting $80, up 2.07%, the landing cost of imported fuel and subsidies are expected to increase. While marketers have continued to stress the need to allow market forces to determine the pump price of fuel and do away with subsidy, it remains uncertain whether the discussions between the federal government and, of course, the labor unions will lead to the deregulation of the downstream. Well, joining me live via Zoom to discuss this and, of course, more issues around the sector is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of International Energy Services Limited, Dr. Diro Fawibe. Good afternoon, Dr. Fawibe.
Good afternoon, Tolu.
Thank you very much for your time. Yes, when I saw this yesterday, price of crude hitting about $80, I was excited, saying more money for the country. But on the other side, I know that landing cost is definitely going to be on the high side as we speak. How do we put this together? Spending close to 200 billion every month to subsidize. How does it come to you?
Well, it doesn't come to me as a surprise because we have warned over time that whenever there is an increase in the price of crude oil, which normally should increase revenue to government resulting from the export of crude oil, it should increase the price of fuel, because since we are importing fuel into the country. So it's a double-edged sword, and we cannot eat our cake and have it. Having regard to the fact that we are not refining crude oil locally. Anytime there is an increase in the price of crude oil in the world market, it will translate to increase in the price of gasoline in the refining areas of the world. Like, for example, if we are taking Rotterdam as the importing station for a port for Nigeria, the price of petroleum product, gasoline, for example, will obviously increase, because the refiners will have no hesitation, in increasing the price of their products, since the price of crude oil, which is the raw material of feedstock for the petroleum product, not only gasoline but for other derivatives from crude oil, the price will have to go up. So since we are importing petroleum products, the gasoline to Nigeria, the price of gasoline will obviously go up, and we cannot run away from this. There's no ceremony about it, and until we start to refine locally, maybe if there is a deal with the local refiners, the price of petrol locally will not be gyrating or spiking as we can possibly witness it now as a result of the increase in the price of crude oil and by extension the price of gasoline in the refining centers of the world.
Indeed, we'll speak around refining, which is very important in this context. But I'm also looking at shale oil production. I know many say when the price of crude continues to rise or is on the high side, it becomes attractive for shale producers. Now, do you think that could also be a threat, one way or the other, for maybe OPEC and for, of course, OPEC Plus?
Yes, certainly. At the time the price of oil went down to as low as $30 per barrel, the shale producers, would not operate very much, because the production of shale oil, was high cost. And you cannot compare the production of production cost of shale oil with that of crude oil, especially in the Middle East, that is a low cost producing region. Even in Nigeria, with all the challenges we are having about the rising cost of cost of production, you can still not compare the cost of producing a barrel of shale oil with that of OPEC countries. So, given that, the shale oil producers, if they don't want to go under, that if they don't want to go bankrupt, they will have to slow down in their production, and as a result of the rising production cost. But now that the price of oil has gone up to nearly $80 per barrel, of course, it is Christmas time for shale producers, and whatever may be the marginal increase in their production, obviously it will be backing out some of the crude oil from OPEC oil producing countries. So it's a threat, really, but I think there's probably nothing anybody can do about that, because, as you know too well, U.S. shale producers will have their own captive market, and some crude oil going to U.S. will have to be backed out as a result of this increase in production of shale oil. So it therefore means that producers like Nigeria and some other countries in the Middle East that tend to export crude oil to U.S., we then have to look for and deepen the market for their crude oil. And fortunately, Nigeria has been doing very well in Asia by way of export of crude oil. So, and demand in those regions is now rising again as a result of the COVID now abating. So Nigeria would then have to deepen its export of crude oil to Asia, so as to, if the export of Nigeria crude is affected by U.S. Although for some time now, U.S. has not been patronizing Nigeria like it was in the past some years ago. Nigeria used to be the second largest exporter of oil to U.S. apart from Saudi Arabia, but that has changed now. Even though Nigeria's crude oil is most suited for U.S. refineries, but at the same time, I think the economics, does not favor Nigerian crude oil as much as it was in the past. And Nigerian crude oil was not going to Asia, substantially many years ago, but now Nigeria is doing pretty well in exporting crude oil to Asia, India, China, and so on.
Now, I want to ask you this question, Dr. Fawobe. When we talk about subsidy, we've had mixed reactions to this. Some say, yes, outrightly, let's get off it and move on. But some say, no, when you remove subsidy, the masses will suffer. The masses believe that's just what they hold on to government, that is like what they can get from government or benefit from government. Now the issue of trust comes in to me. Do you think the people trust government, that government would help cushion the effect, the negative effect of total removal of subsidy? Or what can really be done to educate Nigerians and let them understand that this possibly could be in their interest?
Well, I don't think there's any survey as regards the level of trust people have in their government, but all over the world, many people tend to have problems with politicians, in terms of trust. It's just a question of degree, to what extent do people in this country as against another country trust their government. But generally, people tend to distrust their government. Even in America, with all they are doing for their people, in Europe, in Germany, UK, and so on, even in France, people tend to have have ambivalence of interest, of trust, in their government. But having said that, when we are talking about policies of government, we should consider certain issues that surround the decision making in government. Take the case of subsidy in Nigeria. No, I think the problem has been with us for many years. We should admit this. And we should look at the fundamental causes, of the problem we are having on our hand, whereby we have to be paying, spending a lot of money on subsidy. Ordinarily, for a country that is very much concerned with energy security for the country, we should not be having this kind of problem. I can say that maybe we should share up. It could have been worse, because if, for example, there's a problem of importing petroleum products to Nigeria, it means that we are hard and dry. We should have been able to not only rehabilitate our refineries that are in comatose situation, but we should even, based on the projected increase in demand for petroleum products, we should be establishing new ones. We'll be talking about rehabilitating the 4 refineries or 3, whatever you call it, for many years, and even since the coming of democracy in 1999, I believe that there are some experts who have presented report to the incoming government at that time about the state of our refineries. And I believe the government, the president at that time, made it one of his cardinal points to rehabilitate the refineries and possibly increase. You remember that about 18 licenses were given to companies to establish new refineries because government felt, the president, Chief Obasanjo, felt that bought the idea that the government had no business in running refineries and so on. But unfortunately, none of the refineries, actually was gotten developed. But on the other hand, the ones that we had, were not working. That made Chief Obasanjo to decide to sell the Port Harcourt refinery, which is the biggest of the refineries. But this was cancelled by the succeeding administration. Ever since that time, we've been battling with the issue of our refineries. So, why refinery situation is at the center of this is that if we are refining crude oil locally, then the issue of subsidy may not be in the front burner as it is now. Let me explain this. Normally, the part of the subsidy we are paying now arose from the charges of the we are paying on imported fuel. Okay, if we take the Rotterdam port as the place where we used to bring petroleum products, for argument's sake, then you have to pay freight from there to Nigeria. You have to pay all kinds of expenses when the crude oil gets to Nigeria, the storage, the maritime and safety, and all kinds of things you have to pay. If we are refining locally like we used to do when we send in crude oil to Port Harcourt or Warri or Kaduna, there are some charges we are currently paying that will not be there. So, obviously, the price of locally refined product will be lower than the imported one. Now, I said earlier that when the price of crude oil goes up, obviously the refiners in those countries where we are importing product will have to jack up the price of their product, and that is partly what is accounting for the increase in subsidy that we are paying since the price of petroleum product has been regulated, has been fixed. Now, in some time ago, I think this was probably in March, the GMD of NNPC said that the actual price when everything was put together for gasoline in Nigeria should be about $256 naira per liter. But we were charging 162 liters per liter. Now, if it was 162, if it was 226 or thereabout, in March this year, when the price of oil was still hovering around 50, 55, and so on. Now that the price of crude oil has gone up to around 80, you can imagine what the calculated price of product will be in Nigeria. But the price of gasoline in Nigeria, that's petrol, it still remains at 162. Now, if government wants to allow market forces to determine the price, obviously the price will not be 162 that consumers are paying now, to probably be in the order of about 300 naira per liter. And good luck to any government that in Nigeria that fixed the price of gasoline to about 300 naira per liter. And when in some months ago, or I think that was in July or thereabout, the PPRA on its website put the price of petrol to about 221. Immediately, it was like a wildfire that people were reacting and abusing government and so on and so forth. Quickly, based on the advice of the government, PPRA had to remove that information on its website. So, therefore, where it translates to is that for any government presently, because of our fragile democracy, to allow the price of oil to go through the roof or reflect market forces, I think it will be very tough. So for that reason, we have to make a choice. He said that we continue to pay subsidy, whether it's 906 billion naira between January and August this year, or in a particular month about 140 over 140 billion naira, for subsidy. I guess we don't have any choice. If government doesn't want to go through this process, then the labor union and civil society organizations, and indeed Nigerians, must be ready to pay for the price of fuel. Now, many experts, have advocated for removal of subsidy, because with all this money we are paying for subsidy, it does prevent government from spending money on education, on health, and so on. See the case of the resident doctors, quarreling with government over non-payment of allowances, and ASU has also been hinting about going on strike and so on. Government needs money, to be able to do this, and some of the monies we are burning, for over subsidy, which is for the consumption of fuel, easily have been diverted to meet some of these basic needs. So we have to make a choice. Say that we pay the price of fuel, at the pump, or we continue with a subsidy, and then some of these other things will be suffering. We have no choice. We have to decide for ourselves as Nigerians what we want to do.
Let's wrap up on this note, Doc. The issue of the figures or the numbers that we consume daily, number of liters, is something that is also worrisome, and the issue of smuggling comes into play here. We've had lots of meetings. The NNPC has met with security agencies to try and secure the borders and all of this, but this still keeps happening. Do you have any reaction to this?
Well, you see, obviously, the point you made and has a lot of, is pregnant with a lot of meaning, in the sense that not all the money being spent of subsidy actually should be spent if there is no smuggling, extensive smuggling, of the products going out of the countries. And it's very unfortunate that we are subsidizing the economies of some neighboring countries. And the only way you prevent that is by putting measures in place to check smuggling. But it's just unfortunate that government has not been able to achieve much success in this area. And let me give you an example. When some of the Nigerian borders were closed, of course it reduced the amount of smuggling going out of fuel going out of the country. And NNPC was engaged in campaigning and try to appeal to Nigerians, to abide with the closure, because it's beneficial to us in certain respects. But so some sectors of the economy, there's a lot of suffering, and that is what led to agitation, not only from the neighboring countries that was sealed off, but from even Nigerians. Even the semi-border that is being still closed now is still a subject of agitation and political debate as to whether how that should be done. And there are some other parts of the country where the borders have been relaxed. So as long as you have these borders that we consider to be very porous, there will be a lot of smuggling, and there are so many unscrupulous and Nigerians and even some foreigners who came to this country purposely to engage in this illicit trade, to be smuggling fuel, because it's an industry of its own, underground business of its own, that is generating a lot of money for people. And the extent to which this kind of business is going on, it's only government that can unravel it. So government will need to do a lot. Government will never surrender this area of economic life to these people. So government must be seen to be making effort to check this level of smuggling. And our discussion was supposed to have been held with some neighboring countries that they are actually undermining Nigerian economy, by way of encouraging smuggling into their country. But I think they are benefiting from it. So it's the policy in the court of Nigerian government, and of course the security agency that will share with the responsibility of checking this smuggling. To what extent are they being successful? What is the scorecard of the achievement they have made in this respect? So as long as smuggling goes on unabated, there will be a lot of money going to pay subsidy for what Nigerians actually do not consume.
It's a good way to leave it there. I've been speaking to Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, International Energy Services Limited, Dr. Diran Fawibe. Dr. Fawibe, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Otulu. Thank you.